In 2024, the billion-dollar empire this man built literally came crashing down. This is Vince McMahon, the guy who created the WWE and made legends. But he just got hit with some of the most insane allegations imaginable: sexual abuse and even human trafficking. This is not just another scandal. We are talking about something that was secretly happening for decades at one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world. This billionaire titan was facing accusations that could destroy everything he ever built. So how did we get here? How did the WWE hide something so dark for so long? To understand this crazy story, we have to go back to the very beginning. Before all the insane scandals and lawsuits, there was just pure ambition. This is Vince McMahon. He grew up in the wrestling business, but he didn't just want to inherit it. He wanted to own all of it. So in the 80s, he bought the WWF from his dad. Back then, wrestling was just a bunch of small, local leagues, but Vince saw something way bigger. He didn't just see wrestling, he saw sports entertainment. And his plan was absolutely ruthless. He broke all the unwritten rules, stealing the best wrestlers from other leagues and running his TV shows in their towns until they went broke. He basically gave wrestling a Hollywood makeover and added rock and roll. Then, he created WrestleMania, a massive pop culture event with celebrities like WWF became this huge empire of crazy characters. And Vince wasn't just the boss, he was the ultimate puppet master. He even created a villain character for himself on TV, Mr. McMahon, which was pretty much just him showing off how much control he had in real life. He took the company public, turning his family business into the billion-dollar WWE. He had crushed all his competition and built a total monopoly. He was the king of an empire he built himself. He seemed untouchable. But under all the flashing lights, something dark was starting to grow. The first giant crack in Vince's empire appeared in the early 1990s. The US government literally accused him of giving steroids to his wrestlers. The trial was a total media circus that could have exposed the entire industry. For the first time, Vince was fighting an enemy he couldn't just crush: the actual US government. Wrestlers even testified about the insane pressure to be huge. And yet, in what would become a theme for his entire life, Vince McMahon just walked away. He was found not guilty on all charges. To him, this was just more proof that he was completely untouchable. But for everyone else, it showed a pattern. This guy could get away with anything. But right around then, an even more disturbing accusation popped up. Almost nobody paid attention at the time, but looking back, it was a massive alarm bell. In 1992, the WWF's first ever female referee said on TV that Vince McMahon had raped her years earlier.
Next thing I know, Vince McMahon is unzipping his pants.
This was a horrific accusation, but this was long before the Me Too movement, so the story was basically dismissed, and McMahon denied everything. The story just disappeared. But it was a dark sign of a much bigger problem. These scandals weren't just one-off things. They were the warning shots for the catastrophe that was about to happen. For decades, Vince McMahon's power felt absolute. But in the summer of 2022, the Wall Street Journal dropped a bombshell that started the beginning of the end. It revealed WWE's own board was investigating secret payments made by Vince himself. And these payments were hush money for former female employees. The first story was about a $3 million payment to a woman who said McMahon forced her into a sexual relationship. But the story got bigger, fast. The Journal found that McMahon had paid over $12 million to at least 4 women to bury allegations of misconduct and affairs. The details were disgusting. They showed a company where the CEO's personal problems were just quietly cleaned up with secret agreements and payoffs. This wasn't just a personal issue. It was a corporate disaster. McMahon used his own money, but he hid it all from the board and from investors, a massive violation for a CEO. The fallout was instant. With huge pressure from the board, Vince McMahon announced he was retiring in July 2022. He tweeted that at 77, it was time for me to retire. It looked like a sudden, embarrassing end to his insane career. His daughter, Stephanie McMahon, took over as co-CEO. For a second, it seemed like WWE was finally moving on, but this is Vince McMahon we're talking about. He was still the majority owner, holding all the real power. And in a move that shocked everyone, he literally forced his way back into the company in January 2023. His excuse? He had to oversee a potential sale of WWE. It was an unbelievable power move. He strong-armed his way back onto the board and kicked out his own daughter, who resigned right after. He had survived a corporate takedown and won. Later that year, he did exactly what he said and created a massive merger with UFC's parent company, Endeavor, to form a new $21 billion company called TKO. And guess who was on top? McMahon, as executive chairman. He didn't just survive the scandal, he used it to get even richer and more powerful. He seemed, again, totally invincible. But the real storm was just about to hit. On January 25, 2024, that invincible illusion was shattered forever. A former WWE employee named Janel Grant filed a lawsuit that was absolutely insane. Its 67 pages accused Vince McMahon of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and physical abuse. The lawsuit also named WWE and another top executive as defendants. According to the lawsuit, Grant was promised a life-changing career at WWE, but discovered her job really meant submitting to McMahon's sexual demands. The lawsuit described extreme abuse, but it went even further. Grant's lawsuit claimed that McMahon trafficked her to other men, and at one point allegedly used her as a pawn to re-sign a major WWE star. The lawsuit was full of graphic, disturbing details. It alleged McMahon shared explicit photos and videos of Grant with other men, basically treating her like property. It described a culture of complete fear, where McMahon allegedly used his power and money to control and silence her. The abuse allegedly went on for years, from 2019 to 2022, and only stopped when she signed an NDA for a $3 million settlement, a payment she says he later stopped making. McMahon's lawyers claim the lawsuit was full of lies, and that the relationship was consensual. But the reaction from the public and from corporations was immediate and massive. These weren't rumors anymore. These were specific, detailed allegations of federal crimes filed in court. The lawsuit also revealed something huge. Federal prosecutors were already investigating McMahon. Federal agents had searched his property and hit him with a grand jury subpoena a year earlier, demanding documents related to rape, sex trafficking, sexual assault, and more. The walls that protected Vince McMahon his entire life were finally closing in. The Janel Grant lawsuit was the point of no return. Less than 24 hours after it broke, a major sponsor, Slim Jim, paused its partnership with WWE. It was the first sign that other companies were about to run. The pressure was enormous and coming from everywhere. This time, there was no comeback, no crazy power play. Just a few days after the lawsuit was filed, Vince McMahon resigned as executive chairman of TKO. In a short statement, he said he was innocent but was stepping down out of respect for the company. He was gone, and this time, it was for good. His exit sent shockwaves through the company he built. He immediately began selling off his stock in the company, cutting ties with WWE, and walking away with hundreds of millions of dollars. His exit left a huge power vacuum, which was filled by WWE President Nick Khan and McMahon's son-in-law, Paul Levesque, who you probably know as Triple H, who took over all of creative. They were left with the impossible job of steering the company through its worst crisis ever. The fallout from this scandal is still haunting the company today. TKO's stock has been all over the place, and investors are suing the company, claiming they were lied to about the risks of McMahon's leadership. The polished, family-friendly image WWE spent decades building was shattered. Reports came out describing terrible morale among employees who had worked under McMahon's insane rule for years. The man who once had his wrestlers call him a god on TV was now completely toxic to the brand he created. His legacy is no longer about building a billion-dollar empire. It's now permanently tied to accusations of being a predator. The story of Vince McMahon is incredibly disturbing, and it brings up huge questions about power and accountability. We spent hundreds of hours digging through legal documents, news reports, and financial records to bring you this video. If you appreciate this kind of deep dive that goes beyond the headlines, please smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We want to know what you think. So let us know in the comments what other crazy corporate scandals you want us to investigate next. Your support is what lets us keep making videos like this one. Vince McMahon built an empire by turning fantasy into reality. He created a universe of heroes and villains, of epic wins and dramatic losses. But the biggest story he ever told might have been the one about himself. The myth that he was an untouchable king. For decades, he seemed to be above the law, protected by his money, his power, and a corporate culture that allegedly put him above everything else. The horrifying allegations against him aren't just about one man. They're about the silence that let this alleged abuse go on for so long. His legacy is now a cautionary tale about how unchecked power can corrupt everything. The billion-dollar empire he built will survive, but it will be forever changed, forced to deal with the sins of its creator. As of late 2025, the Janel Grant lawsuit is moving forward, with both sides fighting over whether it should be handled in private, away from the public. At the same time, the federal criminal investigation into McMahon is a giant question mark, and we still don't know what will happen. The final chapter of this story isn't just about one man's legal battle. It's about whether an entire industry, built in the image of its founder, can ever truly escape his shadow.